Dr. Phil Meyers. Dr. Meyers is a chiropractic physician living and working in my hometown, St. Louis, Missouri. There's a quick, easy, and no-cost way to get started. Just make that first phone call. Call his office, set up that first private, no-charge consultation. Here's that phone number, twice slowly, 314-878-6868. Morning, doctor. You're growing webs between your toes yet? Lots of rain out there.
Come on, this is crazy. It's May, and it's like 50 degrees.
Yes, it should be warmer. It should be drier. What's the old saying? April showers bring May flowers. Well, things are kind of topsy-turvy. It was 1 degree below freezing here at my home 2 days ago. It appears that the cold weather may be over in maybe 48 hours or so for our area. I hope. We shall see. But we're just barely above normal average rainfall with all the rain we've had because we were so far behind. And I guess that's okay. Agriculture in my area is basically two things: grass-fed beef and timber. And the ranchers depend on getting at least 2 cuttings of hay to have a normal cattle season. A really good year, they'll get 3, but typically 2. And looks like we're headed that direction. Anyway, getting to health matters, doctor. We're at the beginning of the warm weather, theoretically. People spending more time outdoors. I saw a young woman at a bowling center that I frequently visit to have lunch, and she was so pale. She's engaged to the son of a friend of mine. And I said, young lady, you need to be outside and soak up some vitamin D. And I asked her, have other people told you this? She says, yes, John, other people have. But her work schedule keeps her indoors way too much. Do you see that very much in your practice, doctor?
Well, there's a lot of stuff happens within the summer. We've been so stuck inside with the sedentary lifestyles that it's like, oh, I need to go outside. And then you have the other extreme where people go outside. It's like, okay, they're doing all this. They're running. They're working out. They're getting involved in their community and stuff like that. And both of them have to be concerned with their heart health. And a lot of the people that are sedentary really aren't looking at that. Other people that are getting outside, it's like, oh yeah, I'm doing my cardiovascular. I'm running for my heart health. And that's been a gold standard phrase, like the milk industry's got milk for ages to sell milk products. Well, this heart-healthy cardiovascular get outside and be active and running part of it has been basically a selling point for the health industry. The gold standard for health industry talk. And I've heard that for eons.
Right.
Like, this is the gold standard, cardiovascular, heart healthiness. And back when I started all this stuff in the health industry as a young 20-year-old, in the mainstream aspect of it all, it was like, okay, that doesn't quite make sense. But I'm listening to you because obviously you guys are authorities. And then as I started understanding more of the science behind it and started caring for people more and more in not just from a strength and conditioning standpoint, but then from a practitioner standpoint of health, into the chiropractic standpoint, started really realizing that a person that runs and does marathons and half marathons and bike rides and triathlons and all that kind of stuff, that all that work doesn't actually fix their heart. Because, there's a lot of reasons behind it, is one of the things that they're only measuring 2 things. One is your heartbeat. Like, okay, what's your resting heartbeat? It should be between around 50, 65, and depending on how athletic you are.
Right.
And then blood pressure. And they only came up with the blood pressure when they measured a whole group of medical students and said, "Oh, okay, it's 120 over 80. Everybody, that's the average. So this is what everybody's blood pressure should be," but that's all they measure. Oh, okay, you come in and oh yeah, your pulse is good, your blood pressure is good. All right, you're good. You have a healthy heart. And there's way more involvement in that. And a lot of the people out there in our community, that's all they believe is like, oh, my blood pressure's fine, or oh, it was a little high, so they had me on a blood pressure med now, so I'm good now. It's like, and that's all it is. Oh, my cholesterol is a little high, so I'm on a statin. Oh, okay, I'm good now. And they don't look at the big picture. It's like, okay, so what's blood pressure all about? Are you looking at adrenal health and thyroid health? If your blood pressure is going high or low, according to the average statistics, then you have to also look at, it's like, okay, so why is the blood pressure high or low? Those you're going to be looking at adrenal and thyroid issues, weaknesses and burnouts. And obviously that's going to go into hormonal. And then you have, when you're looking at heart rate, what's the variability of it? Like you can have a person with an average heartbeat of, for example, let's just say 78. Their average beat is 78. And she's like, oh, it's a little high. Also, are you looking at, so what's their highest rate? So when everybody does their pulse, you can feel it's like, okay, it goes a little fast, oh, then it goes a little slow. Oh, it goes a little fast, and it goes a little slow. You can feel that. But then are you really measuring that? If you measure it, you can see that a person's average high heartbeat could be like 93. And that their average low heartbeat could be of 69. So you're looking at least a 14-point difference between the average high and the average low, just with a person. Then normally when these tests are done, they're sitting or lying down.
Right.
So that's a huge discrepancy between your highest heartbeat and your lowest heartbeat, just sitting there. Forget where it should be an average of like maybe 10 max, average of about 5 different point differences between your highest beat and your lowest beat. Forget about now going out into traffic, running, doing a triathlon, getting scared, experiencing a loving embrace, getting in a fight with a coworker or a family member, feeling that you're late and traffic's all going crazy and you're like, oh my God, I got to get to this certain appointment. Your heart rate variability, that high and low, is going to change dramatically. And so just measuring your heartbeat and saying, oh yeah, it's good, it's about that average. There's a huge discrepancy in what's doing it. And guess what controls all that in terms of the organ systems? Neurological brainstem, your thyroid, your adrenals, your hormones. So how you're responding to these environmental stresses. So a person, like we were talking about, a person that goes from a sedentary winter to an active summer, they didn't do anything about how their body responds and reacts to the environment. They're just saying, oh, I have to get heart healthiness, so now let me go out and run.
Well, we need to walk before you can run, doctor. You're going from a sedentary winter to immediately into a hard running situation is not healthy, in my opinion. I think you need to start slow and work up towards the full out running myself. Well,
absolutely. You do have to work your way up, and also know where your other levels are. So we use a machine in our office called the Max Pulse, and it measures that heart rate variability. It measures your neurological output from organs like your thyroid and your adrenal, but it also does a very important thing, is it measures how well rested your heart gets. So when your heart contracts, now everybody listening, contract your fist and squeeze it really, really tight. And now the rest of the time that I'm talking, I want you to just keep holding it. Now eventually what you're going to notice that it's getting a little tired, it's turning white, it's feeling a little crampy. Now, and is your fist right now getting any blood? No, it's not getting any blood at all. So think of it like this. When your heart contracts, the heart muscle itself does not get any blood. So what's going to get your fist blood now? Open it up and look at it. It just turned from bright white to, oh, wow, look at all the blood showing up into my hand. When the heart rests, that's when the heart muscle gets blood itself. So now to think about it, though. The heart is now at rest. What's pumping blood to the heart?
Well, I would think the heart does all the pumping. Am I wrong?
Well, think about it. The heart's now resting. How can the heart pump blood to itself?
Well, there wouldn't be no blood being pumped for that moment that the heart is...
For that moment. But that's when the heart... Exactly. This is cool, John. This is when the heart gets blood. So what pumped blood to the heart?
Okay, I give up. What?
Not when the heart pumps, but the body. The body pumped the blood back to the heart. And that's controlled by the electrical signals of your heart, of your thyroid, and of your adrenal, and of your hormonal system, and the health status of the arterial flow. So how elastic are your arteries, and how powerful is your nervous system? If the nervous system is fatigued, has no chi energy in it, and the electrical conductivity going through the nervous system is weak, then the thyroid's then weak, and then the adrenals are weak, and your hormonal system's weak, and the arteries are losing their elasticity, meaning when the blood pumps through it, they're getting a reverb noise factor in them. So instead of sounding like, it sounds boom. You're getting a reverb noise. Well, that reverb noise stops the electrical signal going back to the heart when the heart's at rest, sending blood back to the heart. So the heart misses out on getting the blood. That's one of the biggest reasons why you hear all these athletes, I don't care what athletic performance you're doing, dying of heart attacks. They were healthy. That person ran 5 miles a day, and then they died of a heart attack. Well, because running did absolutely nothing for heart health. That running was still burning out their nerves. Not that I'm saying that running is the problem, but it's lack of awareness of adrenal health, thyroid health, neurological health, and how much chi energy you have running through the body. If your body's in fatigue, you don't have this chi energy running through these vital organ systems. When the heart rests, the heart muscle will never get the amount of blood that it needs. And then now you're living in stressful situations. Those stressful situations activate more functioning need from adrenals and thyroids and sex hormones, making your stress responses high, so your physical stress ability to handle the stress. How high or low is it? How well do you handle mental, emotional, and food stresses? Chemtrails, GMO foods, excitotoxins, I love you, I hate you, you're worthless, whatever type of language you're surrounded with, that's your mental stress. And then how well do you handle that stress resistance? Do you have enough coping mechanisms in your life to first do an initial response and then know how to let go of the anger that you just experienced, the blame that you just experienced, the punishments to yourself and others for what you just experienced, and the judgment of the other and of yourself for what you just experienced. All of that mental stress builds up over time, changes your biochemistry, changes the way your neurological system interprets and receives further information, then telling your heart through the systems how to respond to said stress level. And so that's what we really need to be looking at. I mean, I get people from the sedentary lifestyle and from the really athletic lifestyle, and I'll have people that are, quote, really athletic have tremendously horrible neurological heart conditions. And then I have people that are sedentary and their hearts are really good.
We are back. There are more here on Tuesday, the 17th of May, visiting with Dr. Phil Meyers. Yes, there is, in fact, a quick, easy, non-threatening way to get started. Make that first phone call, set up that first private, no-charge consultation. Call his office at 314-878-6868. Let's continue, Doctor.
So, and a lot of things that people don't really realize is never talked about in mainstream medicine to the general public, because all they're talking about is what drug and what surgery for these issues. But the connection between the brain and the heart, and how important that system is to create this electrical signals. So for people who have never listened before and new people on the show, we talk a lot about the neurological network of how the brain works. And the brain, we have a left side of the brain and the right side of the brain. And the left side of the brain has a connection with a part of the heart, and the right side of the brain has a signal strength with a side of the heart. And in your heart, so what sides are those? You have these little, basically circuit breakers in your heart called the SA and AV nodes. They're the little nodes that create the electrical signals in your heart to help it pump. Well, one of the nodes is for your left brain, and the other part of your nodes is for your right brain. And so if you have brain weakness due to anything on the spectrum of the concussions that we've talked about in the past, or anything of the ADD, ADHD, autistic spectrum, both of those spectrums, from the concussion spectrum and the ADD to autistic spectrum, both of those spectrums create brain weakness, neurological weakness in your brain. So one side of your brain's working like a Pentium, the other side of your brain's working like a DOS computer. They're two different operating systems. They're not communicating well with each other. And so when that side of the brain is one overactive or the other underactive, it's going to create an underactivity or an overactivity in the AV and SA nodes of your heart. So your heart then creates these arrhythmic beats, because the rhythms of the brain to the heart and the heart to the brain connection isn't in rhythm with itself well enough. And so you get these heart rate variability differences of a great number. So the differences are of a higher degree, and then you sometimes will show up as arrhythmic beats. And these things aren't recognized as things to look at from an initial scan. They only look at this stuff if you're really concerned, and most of the things don't even aren't on doctors' radars or the client's radars at all, is to look at these things. So when if you're dealing with any type of Parkinson's or Alzheimer's or MS, those are signs of brain weakness. on that concussion spectrum and on the ADD autistic spectrum. Like I said, it's all in one spectrum. Well, it's affecting the brain. Well, obviously, that's going to lead into heart. And if you look at medical history and statistics, almost all people that are on those types of things have some type of heart issue. Either they're on a because they're in the mainstream medical society, they're either on a medication or choosing not to be on a medication or haven't had it looked at, so they don't know what to do or either way. But I can tell you, if you have one of those things going on diagnosed within the diagnosis of any of the brain stuff, you're going to have issues with the cardiovascular heart system. So you can fix that through the neurological part. It's such a huge thing, and no one talks about it. Because it can be complex too, because you're looking at a multifaceted system.
Right. Well, you do, doctor. You're somebody.
I am somebody.
Right. Well, then somebody talks about it, and you're the person.
Thank God.
You're the man. You be the man. Well, I'm glad you're talking about it because making these connections is not optional.
No, not anymore.
No, not really. It's not. And people need to wake up and smell the coffee and do the right thing and call your office, make that appointment, and get going on real integration, mind, body, and spirit. We have a break here. Stay tuned. We'll be back after the break. And you can also, if you go to my website and place your order, if you want to wake up with little or no pain, if you have arthritis pain, low back pain.
Compromise and is seeing, oh my God, my child has ADD, or my child is on that spectrum of autism. Know that they're also having heart stress. And whatever the environmental connection was that showed up as the neurological deficit that you're noticing, the developmental stage delayment that you're noticing. Also know that that's showing up cardiovascularly. I make a joke of it with my clients all the time that I don't treat adults. I'm always treating kids. And what I mean by that, I don't care how old you are when you walk into my office. The issues in the tissues that I'm working with all happen from conception to 6 years old. Because it's at that time in your life that you set the stage, that the stage was set for how the rest of your life will develop unless you take action and mindfully change the programming. We have to start looking at that from parents and from adults that now are awakening to this standpoint that how you raise your child is going to be how they're going to be in the world later on from a health standpoint. How you and if you're if you're an adult now realizing, oh my God, I have these issues in my teens, in my 20s, in my 30s, in my 40s, that it all started when you were conception to 6 years old and how your body showed up in the world. But there's ways out of it. You just have to learn to reprogram. And that's the whole aspect of learning to let go. And people say, okay, well, you got to let go. Well, how do you let go, right? And there's actual ways of teaching you how to physically experience the experience of experiencing how to let go. And that's one thing I teach every single person that walks into my office is day one, I teach you how to let go. And your body actually, you feel and experience your body actually moving and being moved by the energy systems of your body and letting go of the issues in the tissues. And then as that stuff starts creeping up from an unconscious level, because it was programmed when you were conception to 6, so it's going to be more unconscious now and automatic, up to a consciousness level of, oh, wow, I have a lot of blame. I have a lot of resentment. I have a lot of judgment. I have a lot of punishment surrounding this issue. I don't care if it's cancer, Parkinson's, MS, ADD, ADHD, digestion issues, I can't keep food down, I have an eating disorder, whatever it is. You'll recognize that there's a lot of those components to it that you now consciously then get to learn to let go of. And now you start owning the responsibility that you have for your own self and well-being. It's like, oh, wow, it's not the chemtrails that did it to me. It was the environment that I was in the situation. Now I can recognize I can do something about it and respond accordingly. It's not that the vaccinations and the thimerosal and the Nagalase, yeah, that was involved with it, but now I can take responsibility and do something about it and rebuild my system, because that's what you can do. And it's unfortunate that most of us as pre-adults and adults in this day and age are having to do so much hard work because of the lack of responsibilities that corporations and people took and just took for granted that, yeah, my life was there. And I was in this environment, and I got exposed to this, and now I have to deal with it. But the thing is, you have the power to work through it. And everybody's different. Everybody's going to experience that environment a little different. I saw this really cute Facebook post. The caption was, it's not how deep the mud is, it's how you run through it. And you had this huge dog, and it was only muddy up to like the middle of its leg, and then you had this little chihuahua that was literally covered in mud.
Right.
It was the same mud, but everybody deals with the mud differently, and how we let go of the mud differently, and how we and how we look ourselves in the mirror. The big dog will look and say, "Oh, I'm just a little muddy." The little dog looks at himself and is like, "I am mud." And I'll hear a lot of people say, "Well, my disease." No.
Right, as if they own it.
Exactly. It's not your disease. It's not, and this disease is not you. And there's a difference between also being aloof to it and like, oh, I'm just not going to look at it, versus then actually looking at it and then owning it too. So you got two major extremes.
We do. We got a couple of callers here. First, we got Desert Eagle in New Mexico. Good morning.
Well, good morning, John. Good morning, Doc. Hope you all are both doing well today. Oh, did we make it through?
Go ahead.
Yeah, what's going on?
Quick question for you, Doc. I know for a fact over my lifestyle and everything, right into the 60s, that abusing my body, years in the military, everything else, that for the most part, my body's pretty much the wreck it is. Try to take care of it, but on RBN, even on national radio, you hear all of these ads about this for your body, that for your body, what nitrous oxide now, oxygen therapy. How much of that stuff is actually beneficial to the average person? When you hear, I know this is a really broad question.
No, it's a really great question. It's a really great question. Keep going.
Well, I'm just trying to, knees and everything, destroyed in the military, back. I was in the wrong place at the wrong time, medically retired. And I'm just trying to look at, my daughter's wedding is this Friday, and I just went through knee surgery 2 weeks ago, which orthoscopic, because the backside of my patella looked like 20 grit sandpaper, and still trying to recover for that with problems. And I hear all these ads, and I'm kind of like, well, yeah, none of this stuff is cheap. How much of it is just tossing money to the wind?
Okay. So that is a great question, because like the body needs a couple things. It needs oxygen, it needs water, it needs energy, and it needs nutritional ability to absorb and detox. It needs that. When it doesn't have any of that, your body's going to, and your body's weak in any of those, it's going to have inflammation. And inflammation is good at some points, because it's good to have a fire on your fireplace to build your fire, or in your grill to cook your food. But if it's out of whack and going too much, then you have chronic inflammation, swelling, pain signals that are going awry, and they get stuck in a bad way. That's going to happen with any of us. Now, there's therapies out there that put oxygen in the body, hyperbaric chambers. There's therapies that put more oxygen into the body, and water, and nutrition, and there's systems to detox, and anti-inflammatory this, anti-inflammatory that. And there's a lot of stuff. Like you're saying, there's just so much stuff. How do you choose it? And then what I say is there's a couple things. First off, no matter what you take, no matter what therapies are out there, it will only work to the degree that your neurological system will receive and perceive it properly. What I mean by that, for example, you can take an anti-inflammatory supplement. If your neurological system is in a chronic state of inflammation, creating knee, prostate, colon, heart, brain, whatever issue, and will not receive or perceive that supplement properly to help become anti-inflammatory, because it believes that it needs to be inflammatory in order to survive, you're basically peeing your money away.
Doctor, let me jump in here. I'm going to help Desert Eagle out here a bit. What your question is, Desert Eagle, has to do with self-diagnosis and self-prescribing. You do not have emotional detachment. You do not have the professional ability to self-diagnose. Nobody does. It's very dangerous. Right. Even medical professionals should not self-diagnose. So you don't know if you need it, first of all, because you're self-diagnosing. You don't know how much you need, if you do need it, or when to take it. So it's a dangerous area to self-diagnose and self-treat, Desert Eagle.
Exactly. That's the problem with all of these ads that everybody hears, including
That's right. That's why you need a professional like Dr. Meyers to do a professional diagnostics on you, because you can't possibly do it yourself.
Exactly. Okay. And I've got to call him sometime and set up a phone appointment and see if we can discuss a few things.
Absolutely. Desert Eagle, thank you for your call. We appreciate it. Next we go to Rick in Missouri. Good morning, Rick.
John, good morning. Good morning, Doctor. I have a very strange question this morning, and I'm not sure that you want to opine. However, seeing as how I stopped by last week and said, oh, by the way, I'm having a heart attack, there's probably nothing you can do, and you fixed it. So I'm going to ask you, I got a text yesterday afternoon from my niece. She was actually asking about Leon Green, and I'll talk to him later. She wanted some essential oil. She's got a son who has apraxia, which is something I've never heard of before. In fact, I personally think she got two sons with it. But this is apparently a form of autism. This kid, life is just torment for this child. He can't look you in the eye. If you talk to him, you can just see smoke come out of his ears. He's just completely overstimulated all the time. she was looking for some oils that would calm him down and increase his attention span. But I got to thinking this morning while I was listening to you guys, I wonder, who really knows what it is, and I wonder if there's anything you might have to say about it.
Yeah, for one thing, it's the neonatal reflexes. They're reflexes that are not firing right. They're neurological reflexes that deal with the brain and that deal with the developmental stages. And until you fix the reflex patterns, that's what's that's what's involved in the autism, ADD, ADHD spectrum. Is these neurological reflexes are retained. They're stuck in an immature misconception body motor movement program, and they will stay stuck until they are unlocked. There is no oil that will fix this. There is no supplement that will fix this.
Okay. Well,
and so I'm
assuming this is something you can do.
Yes, this is absolutely. This is the whole purpose of what the adjustments for the cranial and upper cervical adjustments do. We physically work on these neonatal reflexes.
Yeah. Okay.
Hold that thought.
East. Supernatural Silver can be taken orally.
Talking about is, and I get it. People they don't want to have to go see a doctor. They want to find that supplement. They want to find that oil that's going to make them feel better.
Yeah.
Here's the thing.
I think she thinks this is beyond help. That's what I think.
Well, and that's the other part is if it's not the supplement, or if it's not an oil, or if their mainstream doctor doesn't have a way that's not drug or surgery that people don't want to do, they lose hope. Yeah. But they forget that your system is neurological. That if you that this system's fixable. This is a neurological system, energetic system that's so fixable, that's so reprogrammable that you can actually correct these things. And
it would be
That's what
it would
it's
be
about.
Interesting. It would be interesting for him to look me in the eye just once.
Oh, absolutely. You know what? I bet you, if you come see me in 2 months, he'll be looking you in the eye.
I might even pay for this. All right, I'm gonna have him. It would be worth my money. I'll have her call you. Thanks. Okay. I appreciate that. All right.
That's how much confidence I have in this stuff. I'll bet you.
Thank you, Doctor. 2 minutes.
All the stuff that we're dealing with, it's a neurological thing, and it's how your body breathes, how your body moves, how your body thinks. It's all the same. And if you're having issues, autism, ADD, ADHD spectrum, whatever fancy names, apraxia, they just not looking at somebody, not speaking right, these fancy Greek, Roman, German names, no one cares. My child won't look at me in the eye. They won't connect to me anymore. What happened? It's neurological, and these neurological things can be fixed because it's all about how the body breathes, how the body moves, how the body thinks. And you get that system working right, it's going to be astonishing what happens in your world. And no oil, no supplements, no right food is going to fix those things. They only help support a healthy lifestyle once the body is in a healthy state. And it gets in a healthy state when it perceives or receives the environment and its surroundings properly through proper neurological function.
Well, I think you laid it all out there, Doctor, and everybody needs to really pay attention. Have you on Friday morning. Appreciate your time.
See you Friday. Have a good day.
Okay.